What's up, everybody? Kyle here at Let's Talk Wax, and today we're looking at the top prospects and some sleeper prospects as well in 2023 Bowman Chrome. Now, as you can see, I am on my 2023 Bowman Chrome autograph checklist breakdown, and this stems from my Patreon page. You guys can find breakdowns for every Bowman release since 2020, including the new Bowman draft. I put a lot of time and effort into these, and I try to break down every single player, but today we're going to go through some of the top prospects out of this older release and also some sleepers. Before we do, I'm going to introduce you to our Let's Talk Wax rank guide. It's pretty self-explanatory if you look at this graph, 7 being the lowest rank and Elite being the highest rank. We don't have any Elite rankies on this list, but one is the top number. Elite players in the past have been like Jackson Chourio, Jackson Holiday, players of that caliber. I think Elly De La Cruz was an Elite rankie, so I don't give those out very often. But you will see some 1s and some 2s and some 2.5. 2.5s are pretty standard with the prospects that I really like. And like I said, elites don't come very often. 1s I like a whole lot, and they're usually the mainstream hype players most times. But that's the rank system. You're also going to see PR and CR over here on this spot right here. This is the previous rank from my last update, and this is the current rank based on the new update. So I'm not going to go through any of the players that I don't really like out of here. Like I said, if you want to go to my Patreon page, I'll put a link in the video description. You can get all these breakdowns and you can kind of check out players you like. But we'll start off with Brauer Guerrero. He's a rank of 2.5 for me. His autos are pretty expensive. They're around $60 right now. You can see I have the asterisk here because he does not have base autos. I mean, if he had a base auto, it'd probably be in the $25 to $30 range. But he does not, so he is an asterisk. He's a refractor plus only. In the complex league this past year, he had a really good year, but I try to warn people in prospecting that taking DSL and complex league stats with a take them with a grain of salt. A lot of times players will perform very well in the DSL. They'll come stateside and struggle tremendously. It's a little more, I guess you could say it's a little better if they perform well in the complex league as well. But I really don't put a whole lot of stock into DSL and complex league stats, which is why Guerrero's still at a 2.5. He still has a lot of proving to do once he gets to low A. There are some strikeout issues. You can see he's got a 25.4% K rate in the complex league and a 13.0 swinging strike percentage. I like this number right here, the K percentage stay below 20, and I like the swinging strike percentage to stay below 10. Those are two really big keys for me in those two categories. The ground ball to fly ball is kind of above average poor. I like the ground ball to fly ball rates to stay sub 1 at least. Anything above like a 1.2 or 1.3 isn't very good for me. But he did have a pretty good year. He hit 330, only 2 home runs, 13 stolen bases. He took a lot of walks, but you know that could also be indicative of the lack of command that pitchers have in the complex league. So he's still kind of a wild card, but there are some tools there, and he haven't really put up any red flag numbers as of right now. So he's a 2.5 for me. Somebody to definitely watch in the 2025 season. We're going to get into our next guy, Demetrio Costa, and he had a really big year in 2024. He kind of blew up. He had a good year in the complex league at 347. His cards were $5 when they released. This comp is actually wrong. I need to fix this. He's in the $15 to $20 range right now. I'll actually put 20 in there. But his cards coming into 2024 were $5. You could get him for dirt cheap. He had a small sample size. He was 19 in the complex league. You know, he comes into 2024 and he hits over 300 in the complex league. He gets a quick promotion to low A once the complex league ended. He went straight to low A, where he continued to hit for average, and he actually ended up hitting 6 home runs in 300 plate appearances. So he actually demonstrated a little bit of power, stole 20 bases. Another thing to consider also in low A, I don't put a lot of stock in stolen bases. They're pretty much gimmies. Pitchers aren't very good at holding runners yet. There's a big platoon with catchers at that level. You know, teams usually roll 3 catchers, and some of them are a little bit better than others, but I don't put a ton of stock in stolen bases. He does have above average speed, but until he starts stealing a lot of bases in high A, double A, that's when I kind of look into the speed power aspect. But some really good things here: a sub 20K percentage, a 7.3 swing strike percentage, which is really good. He does get the ball on the ground a little too much for me, but you can see he posted a 140 plus WRC Plus at 2 levels. So Demetrio Costa, from a $5 auto to a $20 auto over the course of one season, he is definitely on the up right now. Ethan Solace went from a 1 for me right about the release of this product to a 2.5. Now, he's a very, very tricky prospect because the defense is elite. That's what I think the Padres were leaning on when they sent him from low A to double A last year. The defense is there. He is ready defensively to be in the upper minors, but the bat has not really caught up with the defense. You can see here was his one age-appropriate season. Back in 2023, he was 16.8, still extremely young for the level, but he was more age. He was the most age appropriate at this level. He had a lot of success. He had a 267 batting average and a 220 ISO, 9 homers, 5 stolen bases. And you can see as they put the aggressive assignments on him here in high A and double A that the numbers kind of dipped and there was nothing good happening offensively. So they stuck him in high A for a full season. In 2024, he didn't hit again, no power, no average, but there weren't any real red flags as far as his K numbers. His walk percentage is fine at 10 with me. The K percentage is just above 20. The swing and strike percentage is under 10. The ground ball to fly ball rate is still very good, but there was just no production. So with him not having any red flags, like a 30% K rate, a 4% or 5% walk rate, like a 15% swing strike percentage, I'm kind of inclined to believe that the bat will produce. I'm not sure if it's going to be an impact bat, but with the amount of defense that he provides behind the plate, all he has to do is hit a little bit, and I think we could see him in the major leagues with that skill set. So he's a guy to watch. I've kind of bumped off of him, after getting some large sample data, but he's still one of the youngest players in high. He was the youngest player in high A to play a full season high A this year, 18.6 is that. Then when you look at these ages right here, these are from the update that I did last week. So these were not the ages they actually played at. They are the age that they are pretty much today. So Ethan Solace, still very, very young, a lot of time to develop his bat, but I bumped him down to a 2.5 because I'm a little pessimistic right now. But like I said, there's no red flags, so don't freak out. But his cards have dropped from $200 to $100 over the last year. Felon Collins, a phenomenal athlete. With a lot of these young players in the lower minors, you're going to see here this ground ball to fly ball rate of 4.85, which is absolutely atrocious. This is a red flag for me. That's why I don't have him graded higher. And these are the things that, when you get into prospecting and you're trying to pick these guys that you hope will improve and increase their value, you can't just go off of hype. You can't just go off of what you read, on top 100 rankings. You have to really dive in and see, like, this kid hits a ton of ground balls. And some things that I've noticed with players that hit a lot of ground balls in the lower minors, it does pump their average. He hit 352. He's got really, really, really good speed. So, players hit balls on the ground and they beat them out. At the lower levels, there's not enough defense on the infield to make and secure outs when balls don't get hit right at somebody and they're not hit hard. There's a lot that can happen with balls on the ground and really good speed in the lower minors. So if he goes into double A and he's still carrying this ground ball to fly ball rate of 4.85, when you hit the ball on the ground at that level, you're pretty much out. So definitely something to consider. The ISO's juiced a little bit because of the small sample size, and that's something that happens with small sample sizes. He only hit 3 home runs in 144 plate appearances. So over the course of like a 400 plate appearance season, that would put him around 9 or 10 home runs. 19.3 right now. He's a guy to watch. He's not a guy I'm going to write off, but he's definitely going to have to get the ball in the air more to get into some real power, and that's pretty much what rules the hobby right now. Joaquin Vargas, a guy that I really like. I actually have one of his cards over in the PSA vault right now. He's hit above 300 across 2 levels. He is, we just covered this with another guy. I forget who we talked about. It was Brauer Guerrero. He's a DSL complex stats only. So like I said, I'm very hesitant with these really young players who have yet to participate in low A, but he's had amazing numbers across production numbers, at least, across 2 levels. The K percentage is okay. 22.8 isn't great, but it's not bad. The thing that does concern me a little bit is the 15.8 swing strike percentage. And this stat is when a player swings at a pitch and misses. That's the percentage that when he swings, he does not make contact, does not foul a ball off. So 15.8% of his swings are swing and misses. And like I said, I like that stat to be under 10. Some of the really elite hitters have that stat like in the 6 to 8 range, and those guys are the guys that I really tend to hone in on because they're very contact prone. But much like we talked about, a guy to watch in 2025 to see what he does in low A. He's a $50 auto right now. I'm going to scroll on down to find some more of the guys that I like on this list. Samuel Bosio, the biggest bat on this list. He's probably one of the bigger bats in all of minor league baseball. His catching is coming along, but he is playing a lot of first base. He's in a very tricky situation with Kobe Mayo and Adley Rutschman. Like, what is going to happen with his defensive position? How's he going to get on the field? Is it going to be a DH role? But he's performed he's made it to AAA last year and at 20.4, and he played in AA at 19.9. Had a really good AA season at 16 home runs under the age of 20 in AA. So that pretty much solidifies Bosio's ceiling right there. There's going to be really big power here, and he's not even reached peak physical maturity. So there's a lot of power to come, I think, with Bosio. The big question is going to be, where can he fit in defensively? Will he get traded? I'm not really sure what's going to happen with him, but there's a lot of different scenarios that can pan out with Bosio. But the thing that is going to help him is that his bat is going to play at any defensive position, probably in any organization. So he's a $120 auto, one of the most expensive on this checklist right now. But like I said, he's also one of the biggest bats in minor league baseball right now. We've got Sebastian Walcott, who I bumped up from a 2 to a 1.5. He started the season at 18.1 in high A and actually made it to double A under the age of 19. Now, Sebastian Walcott is, and what I wrote in my little final thoughts over here is, his ceiling is as high as his risk. He is a very risky player due to his swing and miss tendencies, but as far as the capabilities offensively and defensively, he's very special. He hit 10 home runs and stole 26 bases at 18.1 in high A. I mean, those are incredible numbers. A 182 ISO as an 18.1-year-old in high A. But you can see the K percentages kind of jumped up. The swing strike percentage is a little high. I kind of compare somebody like this to Elly De La Cruz, who had pretty much a career 30% K rate across his minor league career, but the production was so high that nobody really cared. I mean, the production numbers were so good that it really wasn't a matter of how much he struck out, because it didn't really matter. And we all know what he's capable of at the next level. I'm not sure he's got Elly De La Cruz speed. That's kind of in the elite plus tier with Elly, but kind of a similar situation. He does not have a first Chrome autograph. He's got a non-first in 2024 Bowman, but his first Chromes are in 2023 Bowman Chrome. Those are the only cards he has with a first stamp on them. So Sebastian Walcott, another one of the top players on this list, but does not have the auto. Welin Francisco, I bought a bunch of Welin Francisco earlier in the season for super cheap. I got a bunch of PSA 10s for like $50, but I think his stuff is kind of has hovered around like the $50 to $60 range since the season. He's hit over 300 across 3 levels. He got promoted to low A after the Complex League ended, and he did pretty well. Didn't hit for any power, but he did hit for average again. He's got really solid numbers in the K department. The thing that was a little worrisome for me was the ground ball to fly ball rate again in low A. Just like I said, you know, you gotta consider if the guys can't get the ball in the air, the ball's not going to get over the fence, and if the ball doesn't get over the fence, he's not going to make a lot of noise in the prospecting community. There are a plethora of players who hit for tons of average and steal tons of bases, and their cards are still sitting in the $15 range. So Welin Francisco is going to need to make some improvements getting the ball in the air. Other than that, I think he's a solid prospect, and he's still pretty cheap, which is another reason why I like him a lot. But that's going to wrap up our top prospects. We've got 3 guys on this list who have made it to the major league level. Those are the 3 guys. This is actually overall a very bad release. We're going to get to our sleepers in a minute, but this is a very bad release. You can see the list of players that have a non-first Chrome auto in here, but a first in a different release. So I cover those in the autograph checklist breakdowns where they have their first emblem card. So you can find them by other breakdowns. Like I said, it's all on Patreon. Every release since 2020, you can find these guides for in the links in the video description. So I do disqualify players at the age of 24 if they have not made their major league debut and they're 24 years old. I put them on this list, so you can't really count them out, but there's a very good chance that none of these guys are ever going to make noise in the hobby. Here's a kind of this release at a glance. This is my chopping block. This is players who are a sub-7 rank, players who I don't ever see, their numbers are so bad that I don't ever see them making maybe even AA or not even sniffing Major League Baseball. So I put them on this chopping block, and you can see this list is immense for a release that came out last year. This is not a release I would rip. I don't rip any cards. That's a throwaway money. If you're ripping, it's solely for the purpose of the excitement and the fun, and I completely understand that. If you're in the hobby for that, that's awesome. The rush of ripping cards, there's nothing like it. It's a ton of fun. I just get priced out of these releases. This stuff's too expensive. So if I do buy, I buy singles, but this is not a release I would rip. I'm currently going through 2023 Bowman for my next update and video, and that's definitely a release you guys should check out if you need to rip or fulfill the rip itch. Now, these are some of my sleeper prospects. And like I said, over my Patreon page, you can get some more information on these guys, my write-up and my ranks. But I think all but Luis Guanipa maybe are $5 autographs, and Luis Perales is a pitcher, but he's by far my favorite sleeper on this list that has a $5 auto. And these are some guys to check out. Now, they're not really locks. These are kind of long shot sleepers. There's not a lot of sleepers that I really like on this list. Sometimes I can find sleepers that I rank in the 3 range. Very seldomly, I'll rank a 2.5. That's going to wrap this video up. I appreciate all my level 3 sponsors over on Patreon. You guys rock. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and like. That does help me out a lot. And y'all have a great day. I'll be doing my 2023 Bowman release next.